In this video, we are going to explore a shocking and highly controversial report that has sent ripples through the Middle East and beyond. The claim that 122 Israeli pilots were killed by the Yemeni Air Force during air operations conducted in Palestinian territories. The story is both dramatic and technically complex, blending elements of modern warfare, air defense technology, strategic maneuvers, and political context. To understand the scale of what this means, we need to break it down carefully and analyze every aspect, both from a technical and operational perspective, so that even someone without a military background can follow the flow of events clearly at its core. The report highlights the heavy losses sustained by Israeli air forces in an unexpected theater of conflict. For decades, Israel has prided itself on having one of the most advanced air forces in the world, boasting fleets of American-made F-35s, F-16s, and F-15s, supported by extensive surveillance systems and electronic warfare tools. These jets are equipped with stealth features, radar-absorbing designs, and precision-guided munitions meant to give Israeli pilots maximum advantage in hostile airspace. For so many pilots to be lost, it suggests that the opposition was not only prepared, but had systems capable of countering even some of the most sophisticated aviation technology in existence. The Yemeni Air Force, often underestimated due to years of blockade and conflict, has gradually evolved into a more resilient and adaptive force. With limited resources, they have relied on innovation, asymmetric warfare tactics, and regional alliances that allowed them to develop or acquire more advanced air defense systems. Reports suggest that they have modified Soviet-era surface-to-air missiles, integrated drone surveillance, and even adapted radar systems to counter stealth aircraft. This is crucial because modern stealth jets like the F-35 rely heavily on their ability to go undetected. If Yemeni forces were able to detect, lock on, and successfully engage Israeli aircraft, it indicates a significant advancement in their defensive and offensive capabilities. When discussing the loss of 122 pilots, we should also consider what this means from a performance standpoint. Pilots are the backbone of any air force, and their training is costly and rigorous, often spanning years. Israeli pilots, in particular, are among the most extensively trained in the world. They undergo intensive simulations, dogfight training, long-range bombing runs, and survival courses. The human element here is just as critical as the machine. Losing such a number of highly skilled personnel is not just a material setback, but a psychological and strategic one as well. It undermines morale, reduces operational readiness, and forces a military to reconsider the sustainability of its current tactics on the Yemeni side. The unique selling point of this success, if the reports are accurate, lies in their use of unconventional methods. Rather than engaging Israeli aircraft directly in aerial dogfights, they appear to have relied on layered defense, blending radar detection, missile systems, and coordinated timing to trap enemy jets. Some accounts suggest that they employed decoy systems to lure Israeli planes into preset ambush zones. Others mention the deployment of domestically produced drones armed with explosives that targeted refueling, aircraft or radar jamming planes, creating chaos in the skies. Each of these tactics highlights not just bravery, but also tactical creativity that compensates for technological inferiority. Another key aspect is the geographical factor. The skies over Palestinian territories are extremely dense with surveillance and defense systems. Israel normally operates here with near-total dominance, monitoring every square kilometer with drones, radar, and satellites. For Yemeni forces to successfully strike within this highly monitored airspace demonstrates not only boldness, but also technical coordination that might involve regional intelligence sharing. Terrain also plays a role. Flying over Palestinian cities or along mountainous borders provides opportunities for ambush, where radar cross-sections of aircraft can be distorted or signals disrupted. This type of environmental use is a classic example of how less equipped forces can level the playing field against high-tech adversaries from a design and performance perspective. This confrontation illustrates how military technology does not function in isolation. A fighter jet is not invincible simply because it is expensive or modern. Its effectiveness is determined by the ecosystem in which it operates. Pilots, support aircraft, electronic warfare, satellite guidance, and even ground coordination all determine success. If Yemeni air defenses were able to isolate Israeli jets from their support systems, cut off communications, or jam their targeting pods, then the technological advantage of those jets could have been neutralized. In that sense, this battle underscores the vulnerability of advanced systems when faced with adaptive and determined opponents. The incident also carries enormous symbolic weight. For years, Israel has projected its air dominance as a deterrent to adversaries across the region. Its ability to carry out preemptive strikes deep inside enemy territory without suffering significant retaliation has been central to its strategy. A loss of 122 pilots in one campaign undermines that perception of invulnerability. For Palestinians and their supporters, it represents not just a tactical win, but a morale-boosting message that even the most powerful military forces can be challenged. For Israel, however, it raises difficult questions about reliance on air power as the cornerstone of its military doctrine. The need for reassessment may involve revisiting everything from pilot deployment strategies to the integration of artificial intelligence in combat systems to reduce human vulnerability. When analyzing this from a global audience perspective, it is important to understand that such incidents reflect broader shifts in modern warfare. Air superiority, once thought to be the decisive factor in conflicts, is increasingly being challenged by the rise of asymmetric air defense systems. Drones, electronic jamming, portable surface-to-air missile systems, and even cyber attacks are redefining the battlefield. The story of Yemeni forces inflicting heavy losses on Israeli pilots is a microcosm of this larger trend. where underdog forces find creative ways to counter technologically advanced militaries. For viewers who may not be familiar with military jargon, it's like seeing a street-level fighter outsmart a professional boxer. Not through brute strength, but through agility, timing, and clever strategy. It is also worth mentioning the broader implications for regional alliances. If Yemeni forces indeed achieved this success, the question arises, did they act alone, or was there external support in terms of intelligence and technology? Countries allied with Yemen or sympathetic to its struggle may have provided radar data, missile guidance updates, or even satellite imagery. If so, this event is not just about Yemen versus Israel, but about a shifting balance of power in the Middle East. For Israel's adversaries, it signals that joint resistance can yield tangible results. For Israel and its Western allies, it serves as a warning that superiority cannot be taken for granted. The death toll of 122 pilots also brings into question the sustainability of air operations in contested regions. Every sortie becomes riskier, every mission more scrutinized. This loss represents not just the destruction of machines, but the depletion of one of Israel's most valuable assets, its trained aviators. Replacing them is not simply about new recruits, but years of expensive training, loss of institutional experience, and gaps in operational capacity. For a country that relies so heavily on air power for both defense and offense, this could alter the balance in ongoing and future conflicts on a psychological and socio-political level. Such losses resonate beyond the battlefield. For Israeli society, known for its strong attachment to military service and the valorization of pilots as elite figures, news of 122 fatalities would be deeply unsettling. Families, communities, and political institutions would all be shaken. For Palestinian and Yemeni communities, on the other hand, it would serve as a rallying cry, a story of resistance and resilience against what has long been perceived as overwhelming force. In this way, the incident becomes not just a military statistic, but a narrative of identity, pride, and resistance. When explaining this story to a broad audience, it's important to balance the technical details with human elements. Advanced missiles, stealth jets, and radar systems are fascinating on a mechanical level. But behind every machine are human lives, strategies, and consequences. The loss of 122 pilots shows that war is not merely about equipment, but about the human factor, the unpredictability of tactics, and the ever-changing dynamics of conflict. The Yemeni success, if verified, lies in their ability to think outside the conventional frameworks of warfare, to challenge expectations, and to demonstrate that no military force is beyond vulnerability ultimately. This story serves as a powerful case study in modern conflict. It highlights the risks of over-reliance on technology, the effectiveness of asymmetric tactics, and the psychological weight of human losses in war. It illustrates how determined, resourceful forces can find cracks in even the strongest armor, and how the balance of power in the region is constantly in flux. But for anyone trying to understand not just the headlines but the deeper layers of this story, the key takeaway is that warfare today is not only about who has the most advanced weapons, but about who can adapt, innovate, and endure in the face of overwhelming odds.